Hi, good evening, Professor. My name is Courtney Clemmer, and this is my video for my final project for SPHS502 motor learning. This is going to cover some motor learning techniques. For the purpose of this video, I will be demonstrating as well as teaching, as I don't have anyone else to help me at the moment to make this video, so I will be doing both parts of this. For my skill that I'm going to be teaching, I'm going to be teaching the concept of throwing a softball. I'm going to be throwing a softball. For the purpose of this, I do not have a glove, so I'm right-handed, so my glove would be on my left hand if I was to throw with a glove. So I'm going to be teaching this skill to a beginner learner who's never really thrown a softball before, never really had any technique practice, or really been shown how to throw properly. They might know how to throw, because most young kids or early learners do know how to throw in some sort of way, but they don't always know how to do it with the proper technique. So for this video, I'm going to be showing how to do it with the proper technique using some motor learning skills that we have discussed throughout the last 8 weeks of this class. So throwing a softball is a complex motor skill. It uses multiple parts of your body. It uses your legs, your torso, and your upper body, as well as your arms, obviously, to make the full throw. To make a softball throw effective, you have to use all the different parts of your body in order to throw properly with accuracy as well as with speed, which overall is the goal of throwing a softball. You want an athlete to throw it with speed accurately to wherever they need to throw it for a play they're trying to make, whether that's to first base, second, third, or from the outfield even into the players in the infield to start making plays. So the two main motor skills concepts that I'm going to be using to teach this specific skill is going to be feedback and the use of freezing different parts of your body to help a learner understand how their body should be. So that's the freezing of the degrees of freedom, which is freezing different types of muscles in your body so you understand what each type of muscle should be doing during a specific skill. So starting with feedback, the first thing with feedback is you're going to start with the knowledge of results. There are 3 parts of feedback. The first one is knowledge of results. So for this specific situation, knowledge of results is going to be where the ball is specifically going. So due to me having to do this indoors and I don't have a field or anything or somebody else to catch the ball, I have a couch right here in front of me. So if I were to throw using the knowledge of the outcome concept with feedback, it would be teaching the player to throw directly at the target, which in my case is the couch in front of me. So throwing at that couch, you want to give them the knowledge of, did it reach where you wanted it to go? Was that throw going specifically where they were trying to make it go? So that's the feedback that you're going to give that young learner when they're trying to learn to throw a specific spot. So if you were out on a field, that would be, maybe to the first baseman or to the second baseman, or even just a light toss back to the pitcher after you caught a ball in the infield. The next thing would be the quality of the skill and the knowledge of the performance. So the knowledge of the performance is something that's going to show an athlete specifically what they're doing correctly. So for the softball throw, there's a bunch of different parts, which we'll go over when I do a full motion concept of this specific skill. But for a basic idea, there's different parts. So, you want to bring your arm up and throw the ball out. So talking to an athlete when you're throwing like this is going to show them what you're doing specifically. So did they have their elbow up high? Did they release at the correct point? Or, some people sidearm a ball like this, which is overall not necessarily the most healthy for an arm when you're trying to make a throw. So you want them to get the overhand throw. So being able to say, okay, so for this situation, your elbow was dropped, so you threw a sidearm, and helping them to get it to keep your elbow up to throw out and far over the head rather than that sidearm position. The last part of the feedback, the 3 different types of feedback that we're going to be giving this athlete when they're learning, is going to be proprioception. Proprioception is your body's ability to understand and sense like where it is throughout the movement of a skill. So for that situation, a lot of it, you're going to have to teach the athlete, how specifically to understand where their body is to get that specific result that they want. So for teaching an athlete that, especially a young athlete, you want to really be focusing on giving them feedback throughout each part of the skill, saying, okay, did you miss your target on this throw? Then what could you change to help you make that target? Whether it is the sidearm position, maybe you're not following all the way through on your throw, which is another important step of throwing a softball. So those are the main feedback concepts. It's very important to give this athlete feedback, especially because this is a brand new athlete who doesn't really know anything about the techniques of throwing a softball. The next one, which is going to be the main thing that really helps teach you and teach this athlete how to throw the softball, is going to be freezing the degrees of freedom. So because this is such a concept, or a complex concept that you're teaching with the young athlete, you're going to have to break the movement down. And by doing that, you can break it down just to using specific parts of your body prior to putting it all together to complete the full throw. So the first thing that you're going to do is working on just the positioning of the arm and how the arm should be throughout the movement. You're going to do this by isolating just the arms, and you can do this either throwing the ball, actually releasing the ball, or you can do it in a situation like I am doing where I don't have anyone to throw the ball to, so I'm holding the ball so I get the understanding of, the ball is in your hand, you have to hold it, and the release point of it, and just going through the motion. So the first thing is getting that elbow high and up. So pretending we have a glove on this hand, you always want your glove near your center of mass, because that's where you're going to have to move from that center back to here. So this is a good movement to practice. Is you would have a glove, your hand is in your center of mass, both hands, the ball is in the glove, and you're just going to go from the glove back to the arm position. Your glove back to the arm position. And this arm position is going to be an high up elbow with your hand loose up here. You don't want to keep everything really tight, but keeping this elbow loose with your elbow up, or this hand loose with your elbow up. So just going from this motion to this motion. And you can do it in two different ways. So you can stand square to something and go like this, and that means you're kind of turning this way, which you're obviously throwing this way. So whatever direction that you're throwing, you want to be square with your feet and knees bent, but all you're doing for this motion is just moving your arm back. So that is it from a few different directions. Moving the arm back, getting that elbow high, keeping that wrist loose so you can understand there are obviously different ways to throw a ball depending on whether you're pitching or throwing. In softball, you don't pitch like a baseball pitcher, but if you were to do that, it would be a little different with the wrist motion. But for a young learner, we're not going to talk too much into the wrist motion, because really we're just trying to get the ball from point A to point B with accuracy and a decent amount of speed. So that's the first thing, really focusing on that elbow, just keeping that elbow movement. So once you've really got that and the athlete really understands like the positioning of the elbow, how to go back and forth between, you caught a ball and bringing it back, is very important. That's like the first main step of how to throw the ball. It's important to do that. Keeps injury down as well, because low arm elbow positioning leads to a lot of side arming, which can injure a player. The next thing you're going to do is doing some sort of kneeling throw. So for a kneeling throw, you're going to kneel down and you're going to put your glove knee down. So the reason you're putting that glove knee down is because you want that follow through. So this part of this, starting with this, you can put the ball down for this situation or hold it however you would like the athlete to do that. Practicing your follow through. So you just put your hands at center mass. It does make it easier if you're holding the ball or have a glove on. Hands at center mass and just bringing down. So when you throw, you're going to finish in a position like this, because you want to follow through and throw the ball with a follow through. So that's the first step of this kneeling position. You want to throw the ball and follow through. So this you can do it holding the ball or not, and you're just practicing bringing that arm down and that twist in the torso. So that's what this is mainly helping you with. It's mainly helping you with the torso twist and how to understand how to move your body to help you throw. So then, once you've kind of understood the idea of how your body twists, you can start adding that motion in to it with the elbow. So this one, you want to focus, obviously still keeping the arm up. This is where you're really going to start actually throwing to somebody. So for the purpose of this video, I don't have anyone to throw to, so I'm just going to demonstrate how it would be. You would, again, same thing, start at your center of mass, bring that arm back, and then you are throwing the ball and practicing your follow through. So when you throw the ball, your whole body's going to go through. So for this specific movement, that point of that is to isolate the body, the torso, as well as that arm. So you start with just isolating the torso, and then you're moving to using the torso and the arm, but still isolating the lower body. Once you've worked into isolating the upper body and how to use the arms with the torso, every follow through, high elbow, then you're going to work on increasing use of legs. So they always say you should step before you throw, right? We all step before we throw, which is important. So for a beginner learner, we're not going to practice, hey, you caught the ball and then you're going to step and throw. We're just going to practice, you're going to go from a here position to a step and a throw. So for a young athlete, the standing throw, you want to start with just using the legs. Without throwing the ball, you can have them hold the ball, whatever specific movement you want to do, have them hold the ball, have them just do it with a glove on or without either. Either way works. But you're going to have them practice that step. So you're just going to go with the movement. So this is the basic movement. When you bring that elbow back, you're going to take that step. So you're not throwing, you're not moving the torso, you're just using that step forward and that elbow back to get ready. Once the athlete understands how that movement works with their body, then you can move on to a full throw. So going back to our center here, and again, legs are about shoulder width apart. You're going to practice elbow back, step forward, and then throw and follow through. So you can have them practice the throw and the follow through separately as well. So you can do kind of a freezing motion in the middle of the throw, kind of a drill to help them. So you would start here, you're going to get that step, have them freeze here. If you need to make corrections on their body, you can move the body around, say their elbows down too much, have them move it up, whatever it is to help them understand exactly where their body is supposed to be here. And then you'll have them do the follow through and throw. So not everybody takes a big step with that back leg when they follow through, but as long as you are able to make the follow through with the upper body, you're good. So you can keep that back leg planted. For younger players, I do recommend you make them step and follow all the way through. Whereas for a more advanced player, they can step and follow through without taking that back leg off of the ground. So once you've done all these isolation movements and they've really understood like what different parts of the body are doing throughout the skill of throwing, then you can start working on throwing with the athlete fully. So you should always start with kneeling at a short distance. Make sure you pick the distance based off of the age and the strength of the athlete you're working with. So for the example of this video, I'm using an athlete who's never really thrown before, but they have a little bit of power in their throw. So then you're going to have them start about 25 feet away in that kneeling position and have them do the complete throw with that to warm up. And that's going to help them understand that body positioning prior to standing up, backing up a little bit, and throwing. At some point, you may have to take a step back if they're starting to do the full throw, but they aren't accurate. Then we need to take a step back and understand, using that feedback that we're learning, help them understand what they did improperly that made that target not accurate. So again, throwing at my couch here, if I sidearm it, it might not go to the same position that I intend it to. Whereas when I follow through and do my full, it goes exactly to where I want it to go. So that is my full explanation of throwing a softball and how to use motor concepts to throw a softball for a younger person who doesn't really know a lot about throwing, but can throw a little bit, but just needs to learn technique. So it's really important to use feedback to help that athlete understand what they're doing wrong and how they can do better, as well as using those freezing of the degrees of freedom to help them understand,